Welcome to Stock Club, everyone.
We're
My name's Daniel, and we're very excited to have you here. Just because we have a smaller group today. Look at your name. What's your name?
Will.
Will. You are. I remember. It's like shh. That's my bad. I forgot.
It's Sushma.
Why?
Sushma.
S-U-S-H-M-A, so you can call me Sushma, but it's too
Such a.
It's too hard for you.
I'm sorry. English is my second language. What was your name again? Althea.
You sort of put this.
Daniel, you're just a pro at butchering everyone's name. Like,
Man. And
Wait, what's your name again?
Josh? I can get that one wrong, right? And you are David? I was like, and what's your name bro in the back?
Gowan.
Sorry?
Gowan.
Gal.
Gowan. Yeah, there. That was good. Welcome to Stock Club. So, every time, I want to just congratulate you by being here because you have made the right decision, right? Compared to the rest of your schoolmates, such and such. So here's a little illustration for you to just understand before investing and how you feel after investing. Right, you see that the level of joy has spiked compared to before. And so today we're going to talk about what is a stock, right? We found that last week many people were very new to this topic, and so I just thought I'd break it down a bit more. So a stock and a share at the very basis is a part ownership of the company that you're investing into. And there's something called bonds, which makes you a part lender to the company, which we'll talk about 10 minutes down the line. So let's get into stocks. Right, so let's say you have a company called the Bulls Group, and the company has about $100 million in assets. So assets can be anything, right? Such as like company property, they can be company like cars, company planes, they can be intellectual property, right? Like they could have contracts set, they could have, what's the word for, they have an idea and then they patent, yes, it's been a long day, right? And so companies can also have debt, right? Like they owe money to other people. So for example, if my company wants to buy fish from Phil's company, I can say, here, give me $80 million worth of fish, and then I'll pay you back on a later date. So that brings my debt to about $80 million. It comes from many forms of things. And if you have any questions so far, just feel free to ask. There are like no bad questions at all. Everything makes sense so far, right? Companies have assets and they have debt. Phil?
Can money be an asset too?
Absolutely, right? There are like many different forms of assets. For example, money is a form of asset, right? However, money can also be a form of debt if they owe money to other people. Okay, so, whoa, what just happened there? Yes?
Where did the debt go from 80 million to 40 million?
You know what? That's a really good point. It was supposed to be 40
Pay me
million.
back for my fish?
It was 40 million all this time. They only owed 40 million. It seemed that like their accountant made a little error of $40 million. It happens from time to time.
Sounds like the government.
But now the company only has 40 million in debt, so they owe about $40 million, yeah?
If a company made a mistake like that, how much trouble would they be in legally?
Oh, I have an answer. A lot, unless they're the government, and then it's just regular accounting.
Exactly. That's true. So ignore the 80 million. The company only invests 40 million. So you see that they have $100 million worth of assets and 40 million worth of debt. And think about what does that mean, right? If you look at the square, it's an empty part of this little rectangle. I mean, so what happened there? Oh, well, that's so purple. So that empty part can be calculated by minusing 100 million and 40 million, which gives you your shareholders' equity, which is worth $60 million. And so that went a bit fast. Let's just go back to what that was, your owner's equity. And so if we take a look back at where we were, a company has assets and they have debts, right? And so there's another blank entry part here is where the equity is worth. So how much money is invested or can be invested in this company, right? The money's worth. And so that's gonna be $60 million. And we all know how we got to 60 million? Yes, cool. And so that's your owner's equity. And so owner's equity is where your shares come from. So owner's equity is about $60 million worth. of this company to be bought, to be sold. And so let's split this up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can see very even split right there. 6. Right? That gives you 6. And so that means this company can be sold to 6 different individual investors. This company is divided into 6, the shareholders' equity. Right? And now for those of you in accounting, what? Why? That's actually a very good question. I want you to hold off on that question just for 2 more minutes, yeah? Alright. So you have the asset equals the liability plus the owner's equity. Now this might be a bit confusing to see, but you can see that you have $100 million in assets. That means if you have 40 million of debt, then your owner's equity, which is OE, is going to be 60 million. So this makes sense now. Right. And so remember previously we had 6 shares? And so when you have 6 shares, what does that really mean? Right, each share is going to be worth $10 million because your owner's equity was worth $60 million. Yeah?
Is the owner's equity new money or is it just your assets minus your debt?
It is your assets minus your debt.
Okay, so the 60 million, just to be clear, it's not some new money that's generated. It's just a valuation of
Yes, precisely. And so, answering your question, why do companies give out shares, right? You want to know why not just keep it to myself, right?
Sure, that's one question.
Well, okay. Let's address that question first. So why, if I have a company, why would I want to give like part of it to other people? Right? Like, what's the point of that? And that brings the topic of raising capital. Right? Have you ever heard of like fundraisers, right, for nonprofits? That's very similar for companies, except they are capitalist men and they want to make money. And so instead of raising money for a nonprofit, they raise money for their own company to make more money. Right? So by selling shares of the company, they say, all right, my company is now up for sale. Do you want to buy something? Let's say, what's your name? Rayon? Rayon? Now Rayon wants to buy part of my company, right? And say, Rayon, I will give you 10% of my company for $1 million. But right now I don't have $1 million. So instead I say 10% of my company is yours for $1 million. And if you give me $1 million, all of a sudden I have $1 million more and Rayon has 10% of my company.
Can I do that with other things? Like if my phone is worth $100, can I sell 10% of it to someone for $10?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't see why.
What would they get out of it?
Then what they get out of it is, imagine your phone, right? And say you're a celebrity, right? All of a sudden, you went from a regular little student at University of Waterloo to the most famous person on earth. And now all of a sudden, you bought your phone for $1,000, but because you are so famous, everybody wants you, your phone is now going to be worth $1 million. Does that make sense? So,
Okay, but like if I sell my phone to someone, can't I just sell 90% of the phone and then the person who bought 10% doesn't
like
get anything?
physically? Like you cut 10% off your phone?
Well, I mean, I already own 90% of it, so.
So I think we're complicating this a bit. So let's think about.
Also, in terms of that diagram, then what determines which assets the owner's equity is?
It's assets minus liability.
Yeah, but the owner's equity refers to actual things because assets are actual things.
So
So what determines which assets the liability subtracts from to get the owner's equity?
All.
All assets, total assets minus total liability. So assets can be like cash or like your building or inventory in terms of like liquidity.
yeah, so actually, so it's a very good question. Let's hold off. I'm sure like a very good tool and how to use that tool to see exactly how assets, liabilities, and owner's equity works. If you will, 5 minutes, yeah? All right, okay. So we talked about if we split the company with the owner's equity of $60 million into 6 parts, then each part is going to be worth $10 million. Right, so that's the same thing as if your company is a pizza valued at $8 and you want to buy one part of the company, that is going to be valued at $1. Right, so your company is worth $8. Your company is your phone in this case, right? And now a slice of your phone or a slice of this pizza, a slice of this company is worth $1. All of a sudden, you're a famous guy, your phone is now worth $80. The original slice that you purchased went from $1 to $10. Does that What, is it moving too fast there? Yes.
How did it go from $8 to $8?
So as you can see, like this pizza, right? Which is represented as a company. And so this company, say company A, right, is worth $8. And so all of a sudden, you guys, company A invented a new drug, right? It cured all illnesses. And now all of a sudden, this company can be worth much more, right? It's very valuable. And so the company is now worth $80, the same exact company. And earlier you bought a piece of the company for $1, right? And now that $1 is going to be $10. Right? You see how I make that connection there? Yeah, cool. All right. So going back to total assets, liabilities, and equity. So you see that we talked about how asset is equal to the liability plus the total owner's equity, right? And so over here we have a very simplified balance sheet. I got rid of everything except for total assets, total liabilities, and total equity. And so this is an actual balance sheet from a company, which I will show you guys in just a second. So as you can see, if you add up equity and liabilities, you will get assets. Right? Just like looking at the first few numbers, it looks very similar, it's about the same, and it is. And another thing that companies do is they offer shares. So what shares are is they are your slice of the pizza, right? And so this company is offering you
3.1 billion.
Yeah, that's good. 3.1 billion shares. There are 3.1 billion shares of this company out there. So you're dividing the pizza into 3.1 billion parts. But how much is the pizza worth only? The pizza is only worth about 63.
Million.
You're adding 3 zeros, so that would be 63
Million.
million thousands. Yeah, let's keep it like that for now. Or just give me a second, 630 million, $63 billion. The company's worth $63 billion. It shows that in terms of thousand, right? At the very top, you guys see that? So that's why it's a bit confusing, but they have about 3.1 billion shares. Right, so the company's worth 63 billion, there are 3.1 billion shares. And so with that knowledge, we see that each share should only be worth 19.67, right? Because you're dividing the total number of shares, the total number that your company is worth by the total number of shares. So the total value of the pizza and a single slice of the pizza. And so what this tells you is that a single slice of the pizza should only be worth $19.67. Right, and that is what they call the book value. Right, on book, a share should be worth about 19.67. Yes.
So this would be the value if the company like liquidated everything tomorrow. The book value is what the company is worth per share, just for everything they own. Then.
Yeah. So let's just say the company is its own entity, and that we as people aren't involved. Right, people don't get to determine what the stock is. And so if it's just a company with no people involved, just by looking at the number of assets they have, the number of liabilities they have, the company, each share is going to be worth about $20. However, us as people who invest, we believe that the company is worth $189 as of 4 p.m. So why is that? What is this company? So this company is Tesla, right? Tesla is currently trading at $190 per share, and they have roughly 3.1 billion shares out there, I believe was the number earlier. And so, like, if you think about it, how can something be worth on book only $20, but we give them a valuation of $190? Yeah?
What are the future plans of?
Yeah, exactly. Tesla is just the easiest one I picked because all of us know Tesla, right? Electric cars, the future of the earth. And so lots of people believe that. We believe that electricity is the move. We're gonna get electric cars. Personally, I don't believe that, but it seems that most of the people out there do, right? Climate change is real. We gotta make sure we protect the earth and such. So we're moving away from gas. And so Tesla is the future. And so people invest in Tesla, they give their money to Tesla. And they're saying that as the Tesla increases, it gets better and more valuable, their share, their single slice of pizza is going to get more and more valuable, right? But what book value really tells you is that how overvalued the company is. Right, so it usually shows you if a company is too overvalued, then it's likely to go back down to what it's originally valued at. And so 190 is a very high number, but who knows, it could go up even higher or it could skyrocket straight down. And so there are plenty of people out there saying that Tesla's going to be more worthy or less worthy. And it's really up to you to make a choice on your own. And so how do you make that choice, right? It's very confusing. Well, let me show you the great resource called Subject Guide at youwaterloo.com. So if you click this link, this is UWaterloo, so all of us have access to it for free. We don't have to pay for any of it. And so there is something called PitchBook. And you just log in with your University of Waterloo's credentials. And PitchBook to a normal people, yeah.
Can you send us that later?
Yeah, this will be on our website.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you have it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be in our link. Yeah.
Okay. If you scan any of the QR codes around on the posters, you can just click and go to a link tree.
Yeah.
And then after, you can just click our website and it's all on there. You can see like the past presentations too. And
Yeah. And so PitchBook is just one of many resources that we have as students. And so one of the things you can do in PitchBook is search up company information, right? So over here, Tesla. So this is the general company overview, right? There's some information about Tesla. And so where I found the information about the balance sheet was all the way down in financials. So I click financials, and then I'm able to click view balance sheet. And so now I'm able to view Tesla's balance sheet. And most of this information is hard to come across if you're just using Google. And so as you can see, if you click assets, it breaks down every single type of their asset. They have different type of assets like cash, they have inventory, right? They have deposits, they have properties, they have many forms. And this gives you a little breakdown of everything, right? If you want to look more into trade and other receivable, you're able to click in and just look at that. And so same thing with liabilities, everything is there. And so we looked at assets. I'm gonna use a pointer. Okay.
Is it just the balance sheet?
Oh, balance sheet is just one of thousands. I want to say hundreds of thousands of things that PitchBook has access to, and you have access to as well. But right now, we're only taking a look at the balance sheet. And so, if you guys see the red pointer, it's very fun. You can see that. I'm just gonna use my. Anyways, right? Assets, liabilities, equity. And you're also able to look at other things. For example, if you want to know their capital lease obligation maturity schedule. I have no idea what that means. You can look at it if you want. Right? And the best part is what we discussed earlier was we discussed Bookshare, right? And so instead of doing these calculations by hand, through PitchBook on its own, I'm able to see book value per share right there. Right? And it gives me 19.67. But how did I get that number? I'm just curious. Let's click on it. View calculation. And it shows you exactly what they did, right? They divided the common equity book value by the total number of shares that they have. And so with that knowledge, you can, on your own time, maybe choose a company that you like, and you can go and take a look at their balance sheet and just mess around a bit. So how many of you guys are like in co-op? Most of us, right? And so here is the tip of the day, and you only get these in person. If you want to work for a company, say, what's your name in the back? Yes.
RBC.
You want RBC? Okay, let's say you want to work at RBC. Right. And say RBC is like a lot smaller company, they're not that big. Right, and so, okay, I want to reach out to the head of Asia, Rod Ireland. Right? Like, where else am I going to get Rod Ireland information? So, you know what? Let's send Rod Ireland an email. Oh, look at that. Rod Ireland at rbc.com. Perfect. I can email him there. And let's just go a bit further. Let's say I want to message him on LinkedIn. See, very low key guy. Only has 473 connections. He's not that popular yet. Who knows? Like, if you connect with Rob Ireland, he might be able to get you a job at RBC Asia. Just a little tip there for you if you want to like look into it a bit. And so that's pitch book for you guys. Go back.
Just click at the bottom. There you go.
Oh wait. So before we move on to index funds versus mutual funds, I want to say like if you start your question answered.
I mean, I started asking this before, but in terms of, like, I'm so confused about the equity
Okay.
equals assets minus debts thing, because like if you have, a company has assets, like maybe 50%
Yeah,
is
yeah.
asset A.
I see your
and 50% is
confusion.
asset B.
I see your confusion. Now watch this. This is a company, right? This company is it's a rectangle. I don't know if you're able to see this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this company is a rectangle, and so the company owns a property.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a house. That's
Yeah.
windows. And the company also owns a car.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
And now that's a car. Right? And now the company also owns some
Cash.
contracts. Right? They own some rights, they own some property, and the company also has cash. Right?
Yeah.
However, the company also owns this guy right here, a big portion of the company.
What's his name?
David. It's David.
Yeah, the company borrowed all of this. They borrowed everything here from this guy. Right? They got to give it back because this is not the company technically, but it's part of their assets. But they owe it to this guy. Are you following along here?
Okay.
Yeah, right? And so now after, let's just say they pay off their debt, how much of this company is really theirs, right? Like what do they really have? So what they really have is what they do not owe to this guy. So all the money here is their own money, like their own assets. And so that asset is called the owner's equity because it's what the owner has in the company and without the debt.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah?
Thank you.
Perfect, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move you guys to
That's exactly what I thought.
yeah, I'm glad I covered that. Okay, index funds and mutual funds. Oh yeah?
So for example, we own like 20% or a major portion of the company and
Yeah.
a share of the company.
Yeah.
So can I demand that I need to operate some part of the business?
Absolutely. So, with shares of the company, if it's a small company, if I own say 50%, then I'm a big owner of the company, right? If I own 50% of Apple, I wouldn't be here. But if I did own 50% of Apple, then I'm a part owner of Apple, and I can go to Apple, whoever runs Apple, and I can say what I think, right? There could be other members. Like if I own 50%, Eva owns 10%, Phil owns 10%, Henry owns 10%. That we're all part owners of Apple, and we say, listen, we think that Apple should add headphone jacks back to the iPhones, right? And then since we're at that position of power, we own enough shares, we are able to say take part in how the company works, right? However, it really depends from company to company. Some companies, if you own like 1 or 2 shares, you're able to also be part of the general shareholders and say that you want this to happen, you want this to happen. But in most cases, if I own 1 share of Tesla, and there's 3-point-something billion dollars, 3-point-something billion shares, how important am I really, right? I'm just a little number, right? But as you own more shares, you become more part of the company in a way. And so if I were to break down a company and say, this, I'm gonna now use a triangle, right? Spice it up a little bit. The triangle is a company, you guys all able to see this triangle? And so if the triangle is mine, and so this is going to be the owner's equity, right? This is everything that's mine and not owned to other people. I want a third of it. A third of this triangle, my company, is mine. It's, by myself, I own 33%. But now for the rest of these, I want to sell it off. You want to buy part of it? Sure. You can have a third. You can have a half. You can have the rest. So now the rest of the company is with other people. And so although I do own 33% of the company and I run this company, my other shareholders have a say. So if my company say we fish, right, and I like to use blue boats, but my other shareholders, they don't like blue boats, they like red boats. And so that's when they get a lot more complicated, when the companies have a board, right? Have you heard of a board before? So I think we should get into that in our next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll talk about like a board.
That's where all the shareholders.
Yeah. And so to answer your question simply, yes, if you own a part of the company, then you have a part control of the company. Yeah?
So if the owner's equity consists of, say, a car, and I own 20% of the company,
Yes.
does that mean I can ask the company to cut off 20% of their car and give
To cut off 20% of their
the car?
car. That's a good question. Why don't we finish this and we'll spend the rest of the time answering all your questions, yeah?
That's a decision for the whole board to make.
Yes.
It's not because you own 20% and have
But you
20%
get
of
voting
say.
rights.
But I own 20% of the car?
Oh you get a say in this company.
But I thought.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, is there what's your question?
I was gonna say, like, if you own, like, let's say 50% of the company and the company's like going down,
Yeah.
like, then
Yeah.
it's not always better to own more of the company.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like if you own more, you could earn more, but if you own more, you can also lose more. Okay.
Can I have the microphone?
Oh, it's over there, yeah.
Okay guys, funds. What do we know about funds? What is a fund? Give me an example. We all go to college. Okay.
Yeah.
ETF. Okay, that's a good one. What about like more normal day-to-day?
Use your money to invest something.
Yeah.
It's like
But-
stock or other other things.
Yeah. So you use your money and you invest into something. That's right. Yes.
A pool of a lot of different people's money that goes and seeks return.
Right. Okay, that's good.
A hedge fund.
Yeah, that's also an example. And other examples are like college fund, insurance funds, any funds you can think of. It's all a pool of money that for a specific use. But for investors, we're gonna talk about mutual funds and index funds today. So first, what is an index fund? Like he said, that we put money into investing into something. But what is it that we invest into, right? Now, say we have a candy jar, and each M&M we have in there is a stock.